There will be days when life gives you every reason to be unhappy. A door closes, someone you trusted walks away, a plan you prayed would work suddenly falls apart. You wake up carrying a disappointment you cannot explain, and somehow the world still expects you to smile. But here is the truth nobody tells you when life gets hard. Happiness is not always something you find. Sometimes it is something you choose. Not because your pain is imaginary, not because your problems do not matter, not because you have to pretend everything is perfect. You choose happiness because you finally understand that your circumstances do not deserve complete ownership of your heart. There are things you cannot control. You cannot control who stays. You cannot control who leaves. You cannot control whether somebody recognizes your value. You cannot control how quickly your dreams arrive. You cannot control yesterday. But you can decide what kind of person you will be while you walk through today. And maybe that is where your freedom begins. Maybe happiness is not waking up to a life without problems. Maybe happiness is waking up and saying, I still have problems, but my problems will not become my identity. Maybe positivity is not denying the storm. Maybe it is looking at the storm and saying, I may have to walk through this, but I will not allow this to destroy the person I am becoming, because some of the strongest people you will ever meet are not people who had easy lives. They are people who learned how to carry difficult seasons without allowing those seasons to poison their hearts. They cried, they struggled, they questioned themselves, they lost people, they started over, and somehow they learned to smile again. Not because life became perfect, because they became deeper, they became wiser. They discovered that peace is too valuable to surrender every time life becomes uncomfortable. And today, you may be standing at that exact crossroads. You can continue giving every disappointment permission to determine your mood, your confidence, your identity, and your future. Or you can begin choosing differently. One day at a time, one thought at a time, one morning at a time. You can choose happiness. You can choose hope. You can choose to keep your heart open without becoming naive. You can choose to keep moving without knowing exactly where the road ends. And you can choose to believe that even this difficult chapter can become part of a beautiful story. Life will test you in ways you never expected. Sometimes the test comes through rejection. You wanted the opportunity, but somebody else received it. Sometimes it comes through heartbreak. You gave someone your loyalty, your time, your honesty, and your heart, only to discover that they did not value what you gave. Sometimes it comes through loneliness. You look around and realize that the people you thought would always be there are no longer beside you. Sometimes the test is failure. You worked, you tried, you sacrificed. And still, it did not work. And there are moments when disappointment becomes so familiar that you begin expecting it. You stop getting excited because you are afraid of being disappointed again. You stop trusting because you remember what happened the last time you trusted. You stop dreaming because you remember how much it hurt when the dream did not come true. That is how pain can quietly change a person. It does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes pain teaches you to become smaller, to expect less, to speak less, to love less, to hope less. But you were not created to spend your entire life protecting yourself from disappointment. You were created to live, and living requires courage. There will always be something imperfect about your circumstances. There will always be something you wish were different. But if you wait for everything around you to become perfect before you allow yourself to experience joy, you may spend your entire life waiting. Happiness is not a reward reserved for people who have solved everything. Happiness can exist in the middle of unfinished business. You can be healing and still laugh. You can be uncertain and still have hope. You can be tired and still be grateful. You can miss someone and still move forward. You can have problems and still have beautiful moments. That is emotional strength, not pretending that pain does not exist, but refusing to let pain become the only thing you see. And that is the journey we are beginning now. From pain to awareness, from awareness to self-respect, from self-respect to courage, and from courage to transformation. Your situation may explain what you are going through. It does not define who you are. There is a difference. You may be unemployed, but that does not mean you are worthless. You may be alone, but that does not mean you are unwanted. You may have failed, but that does not mean you are a failure. You may have been rejected, but that does not mean you are unworthy of being chosen. You may be struggling financially, but that does not mean your future is hopeless. You may be starting over, but that does not mean you are behind. Sometimes life gives us temporary circumstances, and we make permanent conclusions about ourselves. One bad relationship becomes nobody will ever love me. One failure becomes I can never succeed. One rejection becomes I am not good enough. One painful season becomes my life will always be this way. And that is where the real danger begins, because the event itself may hurt you, but the meaning you attach to that event can hurt you even more. Pain is a terrible person to let write your biography. Pain speaks from the wound. Wisdom speaks from perspective. Imagine someone losing a job they desperately needed. They go home that evening feeling ashamed. They sit quietly, staring at the wall, wondering how they are going to explain what happened to their family. They begin comparing themselves to friends who seem to be moving forward while their own life feels like it is falling backward. And suddenly, losing a job becomes more than losing a job. It becomes losing confidence. It becomes questioning identity. It becomes questioning the future. But what if that person stopped for a moment and said, I lost an opportunity. I did not lose my worth. That sentence can become the beginning of healing, because when you separate your identity from your circumstances, you begin breathing again. You realize that a chapter is not the entire book. You realize that today's disappointment is not tomorrow's guarantee. You realize that being knocked down is an event. It does not have to become your permanent address. Sometimes you need to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is this teaching me? Maybe rejection is teaching you patience. Maybe failure is teaching you discipline. Maybe loneliness is teaching you how to become comfortable with yourself. Maybe betrayal is teaching you the importance of boundaries. Maybe starting over is teaching you that you are stronger than you ever believed. This does not mean every painful event is good. Some things hurt because they hurt. Some losses are genuinely heartbreaking. Some wounds take time. Do not romanticize your pain, but do not waste it either. If something broke you, let the healing build something stronger. If someone walked away, let their absence teach you not to abandon yourself. If life humbled you, let humility become wisdom instead of bitterness. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to be disappointed. You are allowed to have days when you are not okay. But do not confuse having a difficult day with having a defeated life. There is still something alive inside you. There is still a part of you that can begin again, and that part deserves your attention. So when life becomes difficult, remind yourself, this is happening in my life. It is not becoming my identity. That distinction can save you, because you are more than what happened to you. You are more than the rejection, more than the failure, more than the loss, more than the disappointment. You are also what you choose to do next. And sometimes the most powerful chapter of your life begins the moment you stop allowing your circumstances to tell you who you are. Some people spend their entire lives postponing happiness. They tell themselves, I'll be happy when I have more money. I'll be happy when I find the right person. I'll be happy when my career finally takes us off. I'll be happy when my family understands me. I'll be happy when my problems disappear. I'll be happy when everything finally makes sense. But life keeps moving, and while you are waiting for the perfect conditions, ordinary beautiful moments are quietly passing in front of you, the morning sunlight coming through your window, a conversation with someone who genuinely cares about you, a warm meal after a long day, a peaceful walk when your mind finally becomes quiet, a good laugh that comes unexpectedly. The feeling of realizing that you survived something you once believed would destroy you. These moments may seem small, but life is made of small moments. We spend so much time waiting for the giant breakthrough that we overlook the quiet blessings already sitting in our hands. Think about how often you have said, I'll enjoy life later. Later, when the stress is gone. Later, when the bills are paid. Later, when the relationship is fixed. Later, when the career is successful. Later, when the dream finally becomes reality. But what if later keeps moving? What if every time you reach one goal, another goal appears? What if the finish line keeps changing? You could spend years running toward a future that never gives you permission to enjoy the present. And one day, you may look back and realize that you were so busy waiting for life to begin that you forgot you were already living it. Happiness is not supposed to begin only after the struggle. Sometimes you have to learn how to find moments of joy while you are still walking through the struggle. That does not mean ignoring your responsibilities. It does not mean pretending your problems do not exist. It means refusing to punish yourself emotionally while you are building your future. You can work hard and still enjoy today. You can chase a dream and still appreciate the present. You can want more without believing that what you have right now is worthless. There is a powerful difference between ambition and dissatisfaction. Ambition says, I want to grow. Dissatisfaction says, I cannot appreciate myself until I arrive. Do not confuse the two. You can desire a better life without hating the life you currently have. You can want a new chapter without disrespecting the chapter you are living. You can have goals and still be grateful. And gratitude changes the way your mind sees reality. It teaches you to notice what is still working instead of obsessing over everything that is missing. Imagine someone having the worst week. A project fails, a friend disappoints them, an unexpected bill arrives. Something they were counting on falls apart. They go to bed exhausted, frustrated, and emotionally drained. But the next morning, before reaching for their phone, they sit quietly, they breathe, and they realize something simple. I am still here. The thought may sound small, it is not. There are people who would give anything for another morning, another conversation, another opportunity, another sunrise, and you have one. So do not spend the entire day mourning the life you wish you had, while ignoring the life that is still unfolding in front of you. There is beauty in this day, there is possibility in this moment. There is still something worth appreciating. So choose happiness today. Not because everything is perfect. Choose it because this moment is real. This breath is real. This opportunity is real. And your story is still being written. Do not wait until life becomes beautiful before you allow yourself to appreciate it. Learn to notice the beauty that is already here, because sometimes happiness is not waiting at the destination. Sometimes happiness is found in the footsteps you take along the way. There comes a moment in life when positivity requires boundaries. Because staying positive does not mean allowing everyone to mistreat you. It does not mean smiling while someone repeatedly disrespects you. It does not mean accepting every apology when nothing about the behavior has changed. And it certainly does not mean giving unlimited access to people who constantly disturb your peace. Sometimes choosing happiness means choosing distance. And distance can hurt, especially when the person you need distance from is someone you once loved deeply. Maybe you spent years trying to make someone understand your heart. You explained, you forgave, you adjusted, you stayed patient, you gave another chance, then another. You kept hoping that if you loved them enough, supported them enough, or understood them enough, they would eventually treat you with the same care you gave them. But sometimes the lesson is not how to love someone harder. Sometimes the lesson is how to love yourself enough to stop begging for basic respect. That is not hatred, that is self-respect. There is a difference between holding anger and holding a boundary. Anger says, I want you to suffer because you hurt me. A boundary says, I will not continue allowing this to hurt me. One keeps you connected to the wound, the other helps you heal. You can wish someone well without giving them unlimited access to your life. You can forgive someone without immediately trusting them again. You can care about someone and still say, I cannot continue this relationship in the same way. There is maturity in that decision, because peace is not weakness. Peace is discipline. It takes strength to walk away from an argument you could win. It takes strength to stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. It takes strength to stop checking who is talking about you. It takes strength to stop comparing your life with people you barely know. And sometimes it takes tremendous courage to say, I no longer want to spend my energy proving my value. You do not have to attend every emotional battle you are invited to. Some conversations do not deserve your nervous system. Some opinions do not deserve your attention. Some people will misunderstand you no matter how clearly you explain yourself. Let them. You do not need everyone to understand you. You need to understand yourself. You need to know what you stand for. You need to know what you will tolerate. You need to know what kind of environment allows your spirit to breathe and your character to grow. Because your peace is too valuable to give away casually. But protecting your peace does not mean becoming cold. That part matters. Do not let betrayal convince you that everyone is a betrayer. Do not let one dishonest person make you suspicious of every honest person. Do not let one heartbreak convince you that love itself is the enemy. Your heart does not need to become hard because someone else failed to handle it carefully. The goal is not to build walls around your heart. The goal is to build doors. Learn who deserves a key. Let your heart remain soft while your boundaries become strong. That is one of the most beautiful forms of maturity. You can be kind without being easily manipulated. You can be loving without abandoning yourself. You can be forgiving without repeatedly returning to the same wound. You can have compassion for someone's struggles without allowing their struggles to become your suffering. And when you begin protecting your peace, something changes inside you. You have more energy, more clarity, more emotional space, more confidence. You begin hearing your own thoughts again. You stop waking up wondering who is upset with you. You stop measuring your worth through other people's reactions. You stop chasing explanations from people who never intended to give you closure. And slowly, you begin returning to yourself. You realize that peace was never boring. Peace was never emptiness. Peace was freedom. It was the freedom to breathe without fear, the freedom to love without losing yourself, the freedom to walk away without hatred, the freedom to choose happiness without asking anyone for permission. And perhaps that is the kind of positivity you need now. Not the positivity that says, everything is fine, but the deeper positivity that says, even when everything is not fine, I will still protect the person I am becoming. That is how you stay positive through difficult situations. You do not surrender your heart. You simply learn to guard it wisely. Your mind will naturally look for what is wrong. That is why negativity can become so effortless. One criticism can stay in your mind longer than 10 compliments. One mistake can overshadow 100 successes. One difficult conversation can ruin an entire day. One rejection can make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. But here is something powerful. You can train your attention. You can teach your mind to look beyond the problem, not by pretending the problem does not exist, not by forcing yourself to smile when you are hurting, but by refusing to believe that the problem is the whole story. Imagine waking up on a day when you had important plans, only to discover that it is raining heavily outside. You could immediately think, of course, nothing ever works out for me. Or you could say, the weather changed, I will change my plan. The event is the same, the interpretation is different, and interpretation matters. Because the story you tell yourself about what happens to you influences how you respond to what happens next. If every setback becomes proof that life is against you, you will eventually become exhausted. But if setbacks become information, you become adaptable. Instead of saying, I failed, ask, what did I learn? Instead of saying, they rejected me, ask, where else can I grow? Instead of saying, I am behind, ask, what is the next step? Instead of saying, why is my life so difficult? Ask, how can I become stronger without becoming bitter? Those questions change the direction of your mind. They move you from helplessness toward personal power. You cannot control every event. You cannot control another person's behavior. You cannot control every disappointment. You cannot control how quickly certain dreams unfold, but you can influence the meaning you give to what happens. And sometimes your greatest breakthrough begins when you stop demanding that life be fair and start becoming stronger, wiser, and more intentional within the life you actually have. Think about everything you have already survived. There was a version of you who thought certain problems would destroy you, and yet here you are, still breathing, still learning, still becoming, still capable of loving, still capable of dreaming, still capable of beginning again. Do you realize how powerful that is? You survived days you once believed you could not survive. You walked through nights you thought would never end. You experienced rejection and discovered that you could continue. You experienced heartbreak and discovered that your heart could eventually beat with hope again. You lost people and discovered that you could still build a life. You failed and discovered that failure did not erase your potential. You were underestimated and discovered that you did not need everyone's belief in order to continue. Your history is evidence. Evidence that you can endure. Evidence that you can adapt. Evidence that you can grow. So when the next difficult situation arrives, do not immediately ask, how do I escape this? Ask, how do I meet this with courage? That question changes everything, because courage does not always remove the obstacle. Sometimes courage simply changes the person standing in front of it. You may still be afraid. You may still have doubts. You may still have moments when you want to walk away. But now you know that discomfort does not mean you are incapable. It may mean you are growing. That is the difference between running from every difficult situation and learning how to face the ones that matter and understand this. Resilience does not mean never falling apart. Resilience means learning how to gather yourself again and again and again. It means wiping your tears and taking another step. It means resting without quitting. It means admitting that something hurt without allowing that pain to become your permanent identity. It means looking at a difficult chapter and saying, this is hard, but I am not helpless. One day you will look back at some of the things that frightened you, and you may realize they were not the end of your story. They were training. They taught you patience. They taught you courage. They taught you discernment. They taught you how to stand. And perhaps most importantly, they taught you that you are capable of surviving uncertainty without losing yourself. So train your mind. When life gives you a problem, look for the lesson. When it gives you a delay, look for the preparation. When it gives you a closed door, look for another direction. When it gives you a setback, look for the strength it is asking you to develop. Do not become blind to reality. Become stronger in the way you see it. Because sometimes the greatest possibility is not hidden inside the situation. It is hidden inside the person you become while facing it. Your life can begin to change when you stop waiting to feel motivated and start deciding who you will be, because feelings change. Circumstances change, people change, plans change, but your values can remain. You can wake up and choose courage. You can choose patience. You can choose discipline. You can choose gratitude. You can choose kindness. You can choose peace. You can choose happiness. Not once, daily. Some mornings, happiness will feel natural. You will wake up with energy, hope, and excitement about what is ahead. But other mornings will be different. There will be days when getting out of bed feels like climbing an emotional mountain. There will be moments when your heart feels tired. There will be memories you wish you could erase. There will be disappointments that make you question whether trying again is even worth it. On those days, do not demand perfection from yourself. Just take the next step, drink the water, open the curtains, take the walk, make the phone call, finish the task, say the prayer, write down what you are feeling, reach out to someone you trust. Do one small thing that reminds you that you are still participating in your own life. You do not have to fix everything today. You only have to refuse to abandon yourself today. That is powerful, because transformation rarely arrives like thunder. Most of the time, transformation is quiet. It is choosing not to send the angry message, choosing to get up after failure, choosing to stop chasing someone who does not value you, choosing to forgive yourself for what you did before you knew better. Choosing to stop comparing your ordinary life to someone else's carefully edited moments. Choosing to speak to yourself with the same compassion you would give someone you love. Choosing happiness when sadness feels easier. Choosing hope when fear is louder. Choosing courage when comfort is tempting. These choices may seem small, but small choices become habits. Habits become character, and character shapes the direction of your life. One day, you may look back and realize that your life did not change because of one extraordinary moment. It changed because you kept choosing differently. You chose to stop making your past your prison. You chose to stop allowing other people's opinions to become your identity. You chose to stop waiting for permission to be proud of yourself. You chose to stop believing that happiness required a perfect life. You chose to live fully, honestly, courageously. And perhaps the greatest gift you can give yourself is this. Stop treating happiness like something you have to earn. You do not have to suffer enough before you are allowed to smile. You do not have to accomplish everything before you deserve peace. You do not have to become perfect before you can love yourself. You are allowed to experience joy while you are still growing. You are allowed to laugh while you are healing. You are allowed to dream while you are rebuilding. You are allowed to be proud of how far you have come, even though you are not finished yet, because you will never be finished. There will always be another lesson, another mountain, another beginning, another opportunity to become wiser. And that is not something to fear. That is life. So choose who you will become. When someone disappoints you, choose dignity. When life rejects you, choose resilience. When you feel alone, choose self-respect. When fear speaks loudly, choose courage. When everything feels uncertain, choose the next right step. And when tomorrow arrives, before you check your phone, before you compare your life to somebody else's, before you allow yesterday to decide what today will become, pause, breathe, and remind yourself, I get another chance today. Another chance to think differently. Another chance to love better. Another chance to protect your peace. Another chance to work toward your dreams. Another chance to notice the beauty around you. Another chance to choose happiness. There will still be difficult days. Life will still surprise you. People will still disappoint you. Plans will still change. Some doors will still close. Some mornings will still hurt, but you will be different. You will understand that a difficult day is not a doomed life. Sadness can visit without becoming your permanent home. Disappointment can knock without being given the keys to your heart. And you will understand something powerful. You cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can keep choosing who you become because of it. So choose happiness daily, not fake happiness, not the kind that hides your tears, not the kind that pretends everything is fine when everything hurts. Choose the deeper happiness, the kind that says, "This hurts, but I am still here. I do not understand this, but I will keep going. I lost something, but I have not lost myself. I am disappointed, but I will not become bitter. I am afraid, but I will not let fear make every decision for me." That is strength. That is maturity. That is freedom. You do not need a perfect life to have a meaningful one. You do not need everyone's approval to know your worth. You do not need certainty to take another step. And you do not need to know exactly how your story ends to believe that the next page can be better. There is still beauty ahead of you. There are people you have not met, places you have not seen, dreams you have not imagined, and versions of yourself you have not yet become. So keep choosing, keep growing, keep believing. And when life gives you another reason to become negative, pause before you surrender your peace. When life gives you another reason to give up, remember everything you have already survived. When life gives you another reason to doubt yourself, remember that your worth was never determined by one person's opinion. Ask yourself, what am I going to choose? Choose courage, choose gratitude, choose growth, choose peace, choose yourself. And yes, choose happiness every day, even when the road is hard, especially then, because happiness is not always waiting at the end of the journey. Sometimes happiness is the light you carry while you walk through it. And as long as you can still choose your response, choose your attitude, choose your hope, and choose to rise, you are never completely powerless. The world may change around you, people may leave, plans may break, but there will always be one place where you still have a choice. Inside yourself, guard that place. Fill it with hope, fill it with courage, fill it with gratitude. And when life becomes heavy, carry yourself gently. You are still becoming, you are still healing. You are still growing, and this imperfect, unfinished, beautifully human day is still yours. Choose happiness. Stay positive through every situation, not because life will always be kind to you, but because you have decided that no matter what life brings, you will continue to be kind to yourself.